You hear the word agent thrown around everywhere these days, right? Especially with AI. But what happens when that term lands in a high-stakes professional environment? Well, it's not sci-fi anymore. Today, we're going to cut right through the hype and show you how these so-called agents are really just carefully structured workflows and why that distinction is absolutely critical. So, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll nail down what an agent actually is in a professional context. Then, we'll get into a really cool concept called learning with scaffolding. After that, we'll see why these things are just workflows, not independent minds. We'll even look at the strict rules for how you're allowed to draw them. And finally, we'll tie it all together to show why this isn't just about words, it's about safety and control. All right, let's dive right in. The term agent gets used pretty casually, but when you're in a regulated field, that loosey-goosey definition just won't fly. We need to be way, way more precise. So this is really the big question we're tackling. When safety and accountability are on the line, what are we really talking about when we say agent? It's time to peel back the layers and get to the truth. You know, sometimes the best way to define what something is to first understand what it isn't. And that brings us to this idea of mental models. Just think of them as the simple analogies we all use when we're trying to get our heads around something new and complex. This slide hits the nail on the head. Mental models are like scaffolding around a building. They're super helpful when you're just starting out, giving you a basic shape to work with. But once the real structure is built, that scaffolding has to come down. It's temporary, and it is not the building itself. And here's that contrast in black and white. On one side, you have the mental model. It's for building intuition, that aha moment. But on the other side, you have the formal model. That's the real deal. That's for when things get serious, for operations, for risk analysis, for when you need to know who is accountable. You just can't mix them up. And this is where it gets really serious. Check out that language, must be dropped. That's not a suggestion. The moment the conversation turns to risk or authority or accountability, those simple analogies are out. They're not just unhelpful at that point, they're actually dangerous. And this table really drives the point home. Look at these contexts. Audits, change control, any decision that carries real authority. Using a fuzzy mental model in any of these situations, it's not just a bad idea. It's explicitly prohibited, full stop. Okay, so we've officially taken down the scaffolding. We know what an agent isn't, so what is it then? Well, the answer is a lot simpler and honestly a lot more controlled than the hype would have you believe. It's a workflow. This right here, this is the core takeaway. When we say agent, we are not talking about autonomy or some kind of digital consciousness. We are talking about a system workflow, a series of steps. That's it. It's a recipe, not a chef. So when we see what looks like agentic behavior, what's actually happening under the hood? It's pretty much always these three things. First, a model analyzes some information. Second, it uses a tool to do something. And third, it follows a chain of simple if-then logic that a human wrote. No magic. It's just a process. And this is exactly why our choice of words matters so much. We have to be really disciplined here. This is a chained process. It is a tool that assists us. The second we start using language that makes it sound like it's thinking for itself, we're creating confusion and heading down a very risky path. Now, this discipline gets so specific that it even dictates how you're allowed to draw these systems. I'm serious. You can't just sketch out a quick flowchart on a whiteboard. There are formal rules, and they exist to prevent a simple drawing from creating a massive misunderstanding. And here is the golden rule for any diagram you make. Its one and only job is to help the humans on the team get aligned. That's it. It is not a picture of a system running by itself. It can never, ever suggest that the system has any authority of its own. And look how specific they get about what's forbidden. No drawing little brains or robot faces. No diagrams that look like a closed loop running on its own. Why? Because every single one of those images reinforces that dangerous mental model we talked about, the idea that the machine is thinking. So what is an approved diagram? Here's a great example. It's called a boundary and gate diagram. Its purpose is to clearly show the line between the AI's analysis and human authority. And what's right there in the middle, impossible to miss? That big fat gate explicitly labeled human approval required. There's no ambiguity there. Okay, so let's bring it all together. We've gone through definitions, mental models, even drawing rules. But why does all this precision matter so much? Well, it all boils down to three things: control, boundaries, and accountability. Now, this might sound a little counterintuitive, but it is a hugely important principle. The more powerful and sophisticated our automation becomes, the more we need to emphasize clear, simple, human control points. It's not the other way around. As the system gets smarter, our fences have to get stronger. This quote just wraps everything up so perfectly, doesn't it? We all start out with simple mental models. That's how our brains work. It's how we learn anything new. But when you're responsible for an organization's safety and integrity, you have to graduate from that. You have to use formal models where nothing is left to chance. So I'll leave you with this question to take back to your own work. Are your automated systems built on formal, documented, and clearly understood models, or are people still just using those casual analogies to explain how they work? Because as we've seen today, that difference isn't just a detail. It's the very foundation of safe and responsible automation.